There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about the things which are beyond the power of our will. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Thus death is nothing terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. But the terror consists in our notion of death, that it is terrible. When therefore we are hindered or disturbed or grieved, let us never impute it to others, but to ourselves, that is, to our own views. It is the action of an uninstructed person to reproach others for his own misfortunes, of one entering upon instruction to reproach himself, and of one perfectly instructed to reproach neither others or himself. They lose the day in expectation of the night, and the night in fear of the dawn. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but will have lived a noble life that will live on in the memories of your loved ones. If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. For what prevents us from saying that the happy life is to have a mind that is free, lofty, fearless and steadfast, a mind that is placed beyond the reach of fear, beyond the reach of desire, that counts virtue the only good, baseness the only evil, and all else but a worthless mass of things, which come and go without increasing or diminishing the highest good, and neither subtracting any part from the happy life, nor add any part to it. A man thus grounded must, whether he wills or not, necessarily be attended by constant cheerfulness and a joy that is deep and issues from deep within, since he finds delight in his own resources, and desires no joys greater than his inner joys. When someone wrongs you, ask yourself what made him do it. Once you understand his concept of good and evil, you'll feel sorry for him and cease to either be amazed or angry. If his concept is similar to yours, then you will be bound to forgive him, since you would have acted as he did in similar circumstances. But if you do not share his ideas of good and evil, then you should find it easier to overlook the wrongs of someone who is confused and in a moral muddle. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. Don't seek to have events happen as you wish. Learn but wish them to happen as they do happen, and all will be well with you. God has entrusted me with myself. No man is free who is not master of himself. A man should live so that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. Know you not that a good man does nothing for appearance sake, but for the sake of having done right? If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich. All cruelty springs from weakness. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. You live as if you were destined to live forever. No thought of your frailty ever enters your head. Of how much time has already gone by, you take no heed. You squander time as if you drew from a full and abundant supply. though all the while that day which you bestow on some person or thing is perhaps your last. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself to make it just and holy. Begin each day by telling yourself, I shall be met with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. All of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil. But for my part, I have long perceived the nature of good and its nobility, the nature of evil and its meanness, and also the nature of the culprit himself, who is my brother. Not in the physical sense, but as a fellow creature similarly endowed with reason and a share of the divine. Therefore, none of those things can injure me, for nobody can implicate me in what is degrading, neither can I be angry with my brother or fall foul of him. For he and I were born to work together, like a man's 2 hands, feet or eyelids, or the upper and lower rows of his teeth. To obstruct each other is against nature's law, and what is irritation or aversion but a form of obstruction? If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. It seems to often do more harm than good to live in resentment and disdain for the world around us. The world we find ourselves in, its past and present, its people, and the rise and fall of its cultures and practices are all the way they are. They are not the way we personally want them to be. When we resist the reality of the world around us and instead project onto it our expectation about how the world should be, we are often met with a certain level of internal resistance. Resistance that can cause us to suffer, and the greater the distance between reality and our expectation, the greater the resistance. The world is what it is. It is not what we expect it to be. Learn to accept life. Learn to love fate and all but it brings. This is the Stoic principle of amor fati, to love fate. After all, fate has given us the ability to live and to experience life. Unfortunately, amor fati often gets confused with a passive, defeatist acceptance of the world around us. To accept the wrongs of the world and to lie down as we observe the passing of things we don't agree with, or the wrongdoing we see being committed. But I believe this is a misunderstanding of the Stoic principle. Acceptance of reality does not mean to submit to it. It is simply learning the ability to see it objectively and accepting that in this moment that is the state of the world. It is the ability to look at the things around us clearly, not through the lens of our own bias and expectations. In doing so, we are better able to understand the situations around us. The reality of the situations we find ourselves in, unblinded by the lens of our own bias and expectations. We then are able to more clearly understand what is within our control and what is not, and then look to leverage that control to effect change first in ourselves, and then, if possible, in the world around us for the better. Whenever you feel anger towards a person, think of what led them to behave in such a way. It is all too easy for us to pass judgment from our own perspective, but it is a very different thing to try and put yourself in the shoes of the wrongdoer and try to understand what hardship they have gone through, what burden they might carry, or how life has treated them leading up to the moment which you found so offensive. Most people are trying to do the best they can with what they have. And while we all are responsible for our actions, there is often a line to draw between a person's experience and their behavior. To me, one of the great ironies of life is a man's desire to find comfort, to remove all sources of hardship and suffering in favor of comfort when applied to our core needs like food, shelter, security, and companionship. Comfort and stability to me do make sense, but when it exceeds to every corner of our lives, comfort and the removal of all hardship seems to me to bring with it its own brand of hardship. Instead of putting ourselves into the unknown, expanding our comfort zone and learning to deal with the adversity that comes with it, excessive comfort seems to risk the opposite. It erodes our resilience to hardship, can breed purposelessness, apathy, sloth, and the host of limitations that come with a shrinking comfort circle. It seems to me that one of the lesser thought of challenges of modern life is to balance the comfort that comes when our base needs are met with the voluntary hardship that is needed to make sure that comfort doesn't soften our resolve. The ancient Stoics advocated voluntary hardship. Marcus Aurelius chose to sleep on an uncomfortable bed. Seneca chose to swim in rivers in the dead of winter. Both men were all too aware of the risks of becoming too comfortable and the benefits of adding discomfort to one's life. Day to day, we often distance ourselves from death, often thinking that it is something that happens to others or to us many, many years from now. But the truth is that death is at our shoulder every day, an ever-present fact of life. Today may very well be your last. Living with this as a reminder brings with it a deep gratitude for many of the things we take for granted, knowing that whatever it is may be one of the last few times we are able to experience it. Whether that be sound of leaves in the wind, the company of those we love, or simply the taste of good food. To the Stoics, this was the practice of Memento Mori, the practice of remembering death. The nature of life is change from the very first shifts of the universe. The most simple of elements gathered together to produce clouds and then solid bodies. Bodies that began to form the very first ingredients for life. Those ingredients formed life, the circle of birth and death, until eventually they came together in the exact configuration needed to create you and me. Like the beginning, the peak, and the crashing end of a wave, our lives are simply part of a grander cycle. We are formed, we experience, and we end. And with our end comes the opportunity for the reconfiguration of our atoms, to allow another to come and go, and to enjoy the experience of life, and so on forever. The nature of the entire universe is change, from the very big to the very small. Lives are often not made better in the accomplishments of lofty goals or the collection of expensive things, so much as they are improved by the small day-to-day changes of one's habits, the decisions to wake up a little earlier, get out of the house a little more often, go for a run, read that book that's been gathering dust, or try to be more present in the company of the things and people we love. While of course great achievements do contribute to it, habits built over time, not short bursts of joy, are often the paving stones to a happier life. There is a delicate balance to be had when looking to the future and the past. The future is necessary for long-term planning and preparation for events that seem likely to happen. However, look too long towards the horizon, and it's easy to let life slip by and miss the very thing you've spent all that time planning and preparing for. Similarly, the past can be used as a tool to learn, but looking back to what was may also mean that you missed the life into which you've taken all the lessons of the past. The future can be used to plan and prepare. The past can be used to learn, but life only happens in the present. When I meet death, as we all must do, the time and place will be largely outside of my control. If tomorrow, then I will die tomorrow, and if a year from now or 20 years from now, then I will meet it then. It is in the very nature of a living thing to die, regardless of how much we resist it. However, for now I am alive, so I will put to use what is within my control and decide what to do with the time that is given to me. Let us then steer our own course and no longer allow ourselves to be driven to leeward by the force of our misfortune. He is a sorry pilot who lets the waves wring his rudder from his grasp, who leaves the sails to fly loose and abandons the ship to the storm. But he who boldly grasps the helm and clings to it until the sea closes over him deserves praise. Even though he be shipwrecked, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. There are misfortunes which strike the sage without incapacitating him, of course, such as physical pain, infirmity, the loss of friends or children, or the catastrophes of his country when it is devastated by war. I grant that he is sensitive to these things, for we do not impute to him the hardness of rock or of iron. There is no virtue in putting up with that which one does not feel. And they say that there is this difference between the mind of a foolish man and that of a wise man, that the foolish man thinks that such visions are in fact as dreadful and terrifying as they appear at the original impact of them on his mind. And by his assent he approves of such ideas as if they were rightly to be feared and confirms them. But the wise man, after being affected for a short time and slightly in his color and expression, does not assent, but retains the steadfastness and strength of the opinion which he has always had about visions of this kind, namely that they are in no wise to be feared, but excite terror by a false appearance and vain alarms. Don't you know life is like a military campaign? One must serve on watch, another in reconnaissance, another on the front line. So it is for us. Each person's life is a kind of battle, and a long and varied one too. You must keep watch like a soldier and do everything commanded. You have been stationed in a key post, not some lowly place, and not for a short time, but for life. Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish events to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. One ought to seek out virtue for its own sake, without being influenced by fear or hope, or by any external influence. Moreover, that in that does happiness consist. What is your art? To be good, and how is this accomplished well, except by general principles, some about the nature of the universe, and others about the proper constitution of man. In our control is the most beautiful and important thing, the thing because of which even the God himself is happy, namely the proper use of our impressions. We must concern ourselves absolutely with the things that are under our control, and entrust the things not in our control to the universe. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. It is the act of an ill-instructed man to blame others for his own bad condition. It is the act of one who has begun to be instructed to lay the blame on himself, and of one whose instruction is completed neither to blame another nor himself. One who knows not who he is, and to what end he was born, what kind of world is this, and with whom he is associated therein. One who cannot distinguish good and evil, beauty and foulness, truth and falsehood, will never follow reason in shaping his desires and impulses and repulsions, nor yet in assent, denial or suspension of judgment, but will in one word go about deaf and blind, thinking himself to be somewhat, when he is in truth of no account. Is there anything new in all this? Is not this ignorance the cause of all the mistakes and mischances of men since the human race began? We are all chained to fortune. The chain of one is made of gold and wide, while that of another is short and rusty, but what difference does it make? The same prison surrounds all of us, and even those who have bound others are bound themselves. Unless perchance you think that a chain on the left side is lighter, honors bind one man, wealth another. Nobility oppresses some, humility others. Some are held in subjection by an external power, while others obey the tyrant within. Banishments keep some in place, the priesthood others. All life is slavery. Therefore, each one must accustom himself to his own condition and complain about it as little as possible, and lay hold to whatever good is to be found near him. Nothing is so bitter that a calm mind cannot find comfort in it. Small tablets, because of the writer's skill, have often served for many purposes, and a clever arrangement has often made a very narrow piece of land habitable. Apply reason to difficulties. Harsh circumstances can be softened, narrow limits can be widened, and burdensome things can be made to press less severely on those who bear them cleverly. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. These reasonings are unconnected. I am richer than you, therefore I am better. I am more eloquent than you, therefore I am better. The connection is rather this: I am richer than you, therefore my property is greater than yours. I am more eloquent than you, therefore my style is better than yours. But you, after all, are neither property nor style. If you have given way to anger, be sure that over and above the evil involved therein, you have strengthened the habit and added fuel to the fire. If overcome by a temptation of the flesh, do not reckon it a single defeat, but that you have also strengthened your dissolute habits. Habits and faculties are necessarily affected by the corresponding acts. One who has had fever, even when it has left him, is not in the same condition of health as before, unless indeed his cure is complete. Something of the same sort is true also of diseases of the mind. Behind there remains a legacy of traces and of blisters, and unless these are effectually erased, subsequent blows on the same spot will produce no longer mere blisters but sores. If you do not wish to be prone to anger, do not feed the habit. Give it nothing which may tend to its increase. At first, keep quiet and count the days when you were not angry. I used to be angry every day, then every other day, next every 2, next every 3 days. And if you succeed in passing 30 days, sacrifice to the gods in thanksgiving. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for, to huddle under the blankets and stay warm? Until we have begun to go without them, we fail to realize how unnecessary many things are. We've been using them not because we needed them, but because we had them. If you seek tranquility, do less. Or more accurately, do what's essential, what the logos of a social being requires, and in the requisite way, which brings a double satisfaction to do less better. Because most of what we say and do is not essential. If you can eliminate it, you'll have more time and more tranquility. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Riches are a cause of evil. Not because of themselves they do any evil, but because they goad men on so that they are ready to do evil. In general, any method of discipline applied to the body which tends to modify its desires or repulsions are good for ascetic ends. But if done for display, they betray at once a man who keeps an eye on outward show, who has an ulterior purpose, and is looking for spectators to shout, "Oh, what a great man!" This is why Apollonius so well said, if you are bent upon a little private discipline, wait till you are choking with heat one day, then take a mouthful of cold water and spit it out again, and tell no man. What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bees. A commitment to justice in your own acts, which means thought and action resulting in the common good, what you were born to do. Men do not care how nobly they live, but only how long. Although it is within the reach of every man to live nobly, but within no man's power to live long. He who is running a race ought to endeavor and strive to the utmost of his ability to come off victor, but it is utterly wrong for him to trip up his competitor or to push him aside. So in life it is not unfair for one to seek for himself what may accrue to his benefit, but it is not right to take it from another. For mankind, evil is injustice and cruelty and indifference to a neighbor's trouble, while virtue is brotherly love and goodness and justice and beneficence and concern for the welfare of your neighbor. The courageous in exile or at home is fearless in the face of all such threats. For that reason they've the courage to say what they think equally at home or in exile. Philosophy does not promise to secure anything external for a man, otherwise it would be admitting something that lies beyond its proper subject matter. For as the material of the carpenter is wood, and that of statuary bronze, so the subject matter of the art of living is each person's own life. My advice is really this: what we hear the philosophers saying and what we find in their writings should be applied in our pursuit of the happy life. We should hunt out the helpful pieces of teaching and the spirited and noble-minded sayings which are capable of immediate practical application, not far-fetched or archaic expressions or extravagant metaphors and figures of speech, and learn them so well that the words become works. No one to my mind lets humanity down quite so much as those who study philosophy as if it were a sort of commercial skill, and then proceeds to live in a quite different manner to the one they tell other people to live. It does not matter what you bear, but how you bear it. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil, not two uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own? True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient for he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective. I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. If you accomplish something good with hard work, the labor passes quickly, but the good endures. If you do something shameful in pursuit of pleasure, the pleasure passes quickly, but the shame endures. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have, and to cheerfully put to good use what they do have. You will earn the respect of all if you begin by earning the respect of yourself. Don't expect to encourage good deeds in people conscious of your own misdeeds. The greatest discovery of any generation is that a human can alter his life by altering his attitude. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. How does it help to make troubles heavier by bemoaning them? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. You should live in such a way that there is nothing which you could not as easily tell your enemy as keep to yourself. Waking up to who you are requires letting go of who you imagine yourself to be. The high-minded man must care more for the truth than for what people think. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Don't promise twice what you can do once. A man who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake. He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. Remember 2 things. 1, that everything has always been the same and keeps recurring, and it makes no difference whether you see the same things recur in 100 years or 200 or in an infinite period. 2, that the longest lived and those who will die soonest lose the same thing. The present is all they can give up, since that is all you have, and what you do not have you cannot lose. Ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather he must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. To life he can only respond by being responsible. No amount of anxiety makes any difference to anything that is going to happen. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. I begin to speak only when I'm certain what I'll say isn't better left unsaid. All Hellenistic schools seem to define wisdom in approximately the same terms, first and foremost as a state of perfect peace of mind. From this viewpoint, philosophy appears as a remedy for human worries, anguish, and misery brought about for the cynics by social constraints and conventions, for the Epicureans by the quest for false pleasures, for the Stoics by the pursuit of pleasure and egotistic self-interest, and for the skeptics by false opinions. Whether or not they lay claim to the Socratic heritage, all Hellenistic philosophers agreed with Socrates that human beings are plunged into misery, anguish, and evil because they exist in ignorance. Evil is to be found not within things, but in the value judgments which people bring to bear upon things. People can therefore be cured of their ills only if they are persuaded to change their value judgments. And in this sense, all these philosophies wanted to be therapeutic. Simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Taoism is the art of being in the world, for it deals with the present ourselves. It is in us that God meets with nature, and yesterday parts from tomorrow. The present is the moving infinity, the legitimate sphere of the relative. Relativity seeks adjustment. Adjustment is art. The art of life lies in a constant readjustment to our surroundings. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Let your eyes see what they see, not what others want you to see. Let your ears hear what they naturally hear, not what others want you to hear. Let your mouth speak your mind freely, and not be constrained by other people's approval or disapproval. Let your mind think what it wants to think, and not let other people's demands dictate your thoughts. If your senses and your mind are not allowed to do what they want to do naturally, you are denying them their rights. When you cannot think, sense, feel, or act freely, then your body and mind are injured. Break these oppressions and you will cultivate life. Be careful what you water your dreams with. Water them with worry and fear, and you will produce weeds that choke the life from your dreams. Water them with optimism and solutions, and you will cultivate success. Always be on the lookout for ways to turn a problem into an opportunity for success. Always be on the lookout for ways to nurture your dream. Strength should always be complemented by softness. If you resist too much, you will break. Thus, the strong person knows when to use strength and when to yield, and good fortune and disaster depend on whether you know how and when to yield. Those who do not know how to suffer are the worst off. There are times when the only thing we can do is to bear our troubles until a better day. To solve a problem, you need to remove the cause, not the symptom. To know and to think we know not is the crown. To not know and to think we know is the affliction. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If a branch is too rigid, it will break. Resist and you will perish. Know how to yield and you will survive. Only he who has no use for the empire is fit to be entrusted with it. At the center of your being you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward into whatever way they like. Kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. A person with a mind is bound to be filled with conceptions. These conceptions prevent him from knowing things directly, so a person with a mind shall never really know. Trying to explain Zen is like trying to catch wind in a box. The moment you close the lid, it ceases to be wind, and in time becomes stagnant air. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. The fact is that those who do not see themselves, but who see others, who fail to get a grasp of themselves, but who grasp others, take possessions of what others have but fail to possess themselves. They're attracted to what others enjoy, but fail to find enjoyment in themselves. If you play a game where scrap pieces of glass are at stake, you will play skillfully. If your expensive belt buckle is at stake, you'll start to get clumsy. If it's your money that's at stake, you'll fumble. It's not that you've lost your skill, it's because you're so flustered by things happening outside. That you've lost your calmness inside, lose your stillness, and you will fail in everything you do. A man with outward courage dares to die. A man with inner courage dares to live. A man like this will not go where he has no will to go, will not do what he has no mind to do. Though the world might praise him and say he had really found something, he would look unconcerned and never turn his head. Though the world might condemn him and say he has lost something, he would look serene and pay no heed. The praise and blame of the world are no loss or gain to him. Things joined by profit when pressed by misfortune and danger will cast each other aside. Let your mind wander in simplicity. Blend your spirit with the vastness, follow along with things the way they are, and make no room for personal views. Then the world will be governed. A beam or pillar can be used to batter down a city wall, but it is no good for stopping up a little hole. This refers to a difference in function. Thoroughbreds like Kiji or Huali could gallop 1,000 li in one day, but when it came to catching rats, they were no match for the wildcat or the weasel. This refers to a difference in skill. The horned owl catches fleas at night and can spot the tip of a hair. But when daylight comes, no matter how wide it opens its eyes, it cannot see a mound or a hill. This refers to a difference in nature. Now do you say that you are going to make right your master and do away with wrong, or make order your master and do away with disorder? If you do, then you have not understood the principle of heaven and earth, or the nature of the 10,000 things. This is like saying that you are going to make heaven your master and do away with earth, or make yin your master and do away with yang. Obviously, it is impossible. We may be floating on Tao, but there is nothing wrong with steering. If Tao is like a river, it is certainly good to know where the rocks are. Great power is worry, and total power is boredom, such that even God renounces it and pretends instead that he is people and fish and insects and plants, the myth of the king who goes wandering among his subjects in disguise. Travel is such a wonderful experience, especially when you forget you are traveling. Then you will enjoy whatever you see and do. Those who look into themselves when they travel will not think about what they see. In fact, there is no distinction between the viewer and the scene. You experience everything with the totality of yourself, so that every blade of grass, every mountain, every lake is alive and is a part of you, when there is no division between you and what is other. This is the ultimate experience of traveling. To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, remove things every day. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Close your mouth. Block off your senses. Blunt your sharpness. Untie your knots. Soften your glare. Settle your dust. This is the primal identity. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. It gives itself up continually. That is why it endures. You have only to rest in inaction, and things will transform themselves. Smash your form and body. Spit out your hearing and eyesight. Forget you are a thing among other things, and you might join in great unity with the deep and boundless. The Tao is clear, yet this clarity requires you to sweep away all your clutter. At all times, watch out for your own stupidity. Be careful of how your mind jumps around. When nothing occurs to involve your mind, you return to true awareness. When unified mindfulness is purely real, you comprehend the great restoration. The ridiculous ones are those who try to cultivate quietude. As long as body and mind are unstable, it is madness to go into the mountains. When two things occur successively, we call them cause and effect if we believe one event made the other one happen. If we think one event is the response to the other, we call it a reaction. If we feel that the two incidents are not related, we call it a mere coincidence. If we think someone deserved what happened, we call it a retribution or reward, depending on whether the event was negative or positive for the recipient. If we cannot find a reason for the two events occurring simultaneously or in close proximity, we call it an accident. Therefore, how we explain coincidences depends on how we see the world. Is everything connected so that events create resonances like ripples across a net? Or do things merely co-occur and we give meaning to these co-occurrences based on our belief system? Letizu's answer, it's all in how you think. When meditation is mastered, the mind is unwavering like the flame of a lamp in a windless place. In the still mind, in the depths of meditation, the self reveals itself. Beholding the self by means of the self, an aspirant knows the joy and peace of complete fulfillment. Having attained that abiding joy beyond the senses, revealed in the stilled mind, he never swerves from the eternal truth. You have the right to work, but for the work's sake only. You have no rights to the fruits of work. Desire for the fruits of work must never be your motive in working. Never give way to laziness either. Perform every action with your heart fixed on the Supreme Lord. Renounce attachment to the fruits. Be even-tempered in success and failure. For it is this evenness of temper which is meant by yoga. Work done with anxiety about results is far inferior to the work done without such anxiety. In the calm of self-surrender, seek refuge in the knowledge of Brahma. They who work selfishly for results are miserable. In this world, 3 gates lead to hell. The gates of passion, anger, and greed. Released from these 3 qualities, one can succeed in attaining salvation and reaching the highest goal. You are what you believe in. You become that which you believe you can become. Man is made by his belief. As he believes, so he is. Seek refuge in the attitude of detachment, and you will amass the wealth of spiritual awareness. The one who is motivated only by desire for the fruits of their action and anxious about the results is miserable indeed. When a man dwells on the pleasure of sense, attraction for them arises in him. From attraction arises desire, the lust of possession, and this leads to passion, to anger. From passion comes confusion of the mind, then loss of remembrance, the forgetting of duty. From this loss comes the ruin of reason, and the ruin of reason leads man to destruction. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the truths and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, and the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well therefore to this day. Such is the salvation of the dawn. The soul who meditates on the self is content to serve the self and rests satisfied within the self. There remains nothing more for him to accomplish. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus is untouched by water. One who has control over the mind is tranquil in heat and cold, in pain and pleasure, and in honor and dishonor, and is ever steadfast with the Supreme Self. One should strive to employ oneself to uplift oneself. One should never dishonor oneself. The self is one's friend as well as one's enemy. It is both near and far, both within and without every creature. It moves and is unmoving. In its subtlety it is beyond comprehension. It is invisible, yet appears divided in separate creatures. Know it to be the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer. Dwelling in every heart, it is beyond darkness. It is called the light of the lights, the object and goal of knowledge, and knowledge itself. It is better to strive in one's own dharma than in another's, than to succeed in the dharma of another. Nothing is ever lost in following one's own dharma, but competition in another's dharma breeds fear and insecurity. For him who has no concentration, there is no tranquility. Death is as sure for that which is born as birth is for that which is dead. Therefore grieve not for what is inevitable. Delusion arises from anger. The mind is bewildered by delusion. Reasoning is destroyed when the mind is bewildered. One falls down when reasoning is destroyed. Endurance is one of the most difficult disciplines, but it is to the one who endures that the final victory comes. Let us rise up and be thankful. For if we didn't learn a lot, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us be thankful. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts and made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, suffering follows him, as the wheel follows the hoof of the beast that draws the wagon. If a man speaks or acts with a good thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. One moment can change a day. One day can change a life, and one life can change the world. Be where you are, otherwise you will miss your life. Kindness should be the natural way of life, not the exception. It is better to travel well than to arrive. To live a pure, unselfish life, one must count nothing as one's own in the midst of abundance. Whatever a monk keeps pursuing with his thinking and pondering, that becomes the inclination of his awareness. A man is not called wise because he talks and talks again. But if he is peaceful, loving, and fearless, then he is in truth called wise. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. Just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt is another. So also this teaching and discipline has one taste, the taste of liberation. The root of suffering is attachment. Your work is to discover your world, and then with all your heart give yourself to it. There is no fire like passion. There is no shark like hatred. There is no snare like folly. There is no torrent like greed. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Happiness will never come to those who fail to appreciate what they already have. What you are basically deep down, far in, is simply the fabric and structure of existence itself. I have realized that the past and the future are real illusions, that they exist in the present, which is what there is and all there is. You are a function of what the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. Tomorrow and plans for tomorrow can have no significance at all unless you are in full contact with the reality of the present, since it is in the present and only in the present that you live. There is no other reality than present reality, so that even if one were to live for endless ages, to live for the future would be to miss the point everlastingly. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic, as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. When you get free from certain fixed conceptions of the way the world is, you find it is far more subtle and far more miraculous than you thought it was. You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. A scholar tries to learn something every day. A student of Buddhism tries to unlearn something every day. I'll tell you what the hermits realize. I'll tell you what, if you go off into a far, far forest and get very quiet, you'll come to understand that you're connected with everything. If then my awareness of the past and future makes me less aware of the present, I must begin to wonder whether I am actually living in the real world. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. The only Zen you'll find on the mountaintop is the Zen you bring up there with you. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Every intelligent individual wants to know what makes him tick, and yet is at once fascinated and frustrated by the fact that oneself is the most difficult of all things to know. Problems that remain persistently insoluble should always be suspected as questions asked in the wrong way. One is a great deal less anxious if one feels perfectly free to be anxious, and the same may be said of guilt. If you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you'll spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living. That is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. When we attempt to exercise power or control over someone else, we cannot avoid giving that person the very same power or control over us. Things are as they are. Looking out into the universe at night, we make no comparisons between right and wrong stars, nor between well and badly arranged constellations. Philosophy is a man's expression of curiosity about everything, and his attempt to make sense of the world primarily through his intellect. Zen does not confuse spirituality while thinking about God while one is peeling potatoes. Zen's spirituality is just to peel the potatoes. If we cling to belief in God, we cannot likewise have faith, since faith is not clinging, but letting go. What we have forgotten is that thoughts and words are conventions, and that it is fatal to take conventions too seriously. A convention is a social convenience, as for example money, but it is absurd to take money too seriously, to confuse it with real wealth. In somewhat the same way, thoughts, ideas, and words are coins for real things. Other people teach us who we are. Their attitudes to us are the mirror in which we learn to see ourselves, but the mirror is distorted. We are perhaps rather dimly aware of the immense power of our social environment. It's like you took a bottle of ink and threw it to the wall. Smash, and all that ink spread, and in the middle it is dense, isn't it? And as it gets out to the edge, the little droplets get finer and finer and make more complicated patterns, see? So in the same way, there was a big bang at the beginning of things, and it spread. And you and I, sitting here in this room as complicated human beings, are way, way out on the fringe of that bang. We are the complicated little patterns at the end of it. Very interesting. But so we define ourselves as being only that. If you think that you are only inside your skin, you define yourself as one very complicated little curlicue way out on the edge of that explosion. Way out in space and way out in time. Billions of years ago you were a big bang, but now you're a complicated human being. And then we cut ourselves off. And don't feel that we're still the big bang, but you are, depending on how you define yourself. You actually are, if this is the way things started, if there was a big bang in the beginning. You're not something that's a result of the big bang. You're not something that is a sort of puppet on the end of the process. You are still the process. You are the Big Bang, the original force of the universe coming on as whoever you are. When I meet you, I see not just what you define yourself as, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so. I see every one of you as the primordial energy of the universe coming on at me in this particular way. I know I'm that too, but we've learned to define ourselves as separate from it. Just as a snake sheds its skin, we must shed our past over and over again. What you are is what you have been. What you will be is what you do. Even as a solid rock is unshaken by the wind, so were the wise unshaken by praise or blame. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. Every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. Do not look for sanctuary in anyone except yourself. If you propose to speak, always ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. The secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past nor worry about the future, but to live the present moment wisely and earnestly. Drop by drop is the water pot filled with water. Likewise, the wise man, gathering it little by little, fills himself with good. There is nothing so disobedient as an undisciplined mind, and there is nothing so obedient as a disciplined mind. If you find no one to support you on your spiritual path, walk alone. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Have compassion for all beings, rich and poor alike. Each has their suffering. Some suffer too much, others too little. If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. In the sky, there is no distinction of east and west. People create distinctions out of their own minds and then believe them to be true. If we fail to look after others when they need help, who will look after us? A generous heart, kind speech, and a life of service and compassion are the things which renew humanity. An idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that exists only as an idea. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate through storms in life with grace and ease, while others seem to get swept away by the smallest gusts of wind? What is it about these seemingly invincible individuals that allows them to remain calm and centered, no matter what life throws at them? Today, we're diving into the ancient, yet ever-relevant world of Stoicism to uncover the secrets to building what we might call immense inner strength. This isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Inner strength or resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you can develop, much like a muscle. And just like in physical training, where resilience is built through repeated exposure to challenges, mental and emotional strength is cultivated through consistent practice and philosophical understanding. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that has seen a resurgence in our modern era, offers profound tools for this development. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. This perspective is incredibly empowering. It teaches us to focus our energy and attention on our own actions and attitudes rather than external circumstances. By doing so, we anchor ourselves in the present and in what is truly within our sphere of influence. Imagine being able to stand firm, not because the world around you is calm, but because you've cultivated an unshakable core. But Stoicism isn't just about enduring pain or suppressing emotions. It's about understanding the nature of our thoughts and reactions and using that knowledge to live more fulfilling and impactful lives. It's about recognizing that every challenge is an opportunity to test our virtues like wisdom, temperance, courage, and justice. This realization doesn't just help us cope with life, it transforms our entire approach to living. We begin to see life not as a series of obstacles, but as a rich tapestry of experiences, each offering a chance to grow stronger and wiser. So as we embark on this exploration of inner strength through the lens of Stoicism, remember, this journey is about more than just surviving. It's about flourishing. It's about transforming the way you interact with the world. Not through monumental shifts, but through small, deliberate actions and decisions guided by Stoic wisdom. This is the art of building immense inner strength, and it's something anyone can achieve with the right mindset and tools. Let's dive in and discover how you can start building your own resilience today. using the timeless teachings of Stoicism as our guide. And if you appreciate what we're doing here, the simple free favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button. Also, please don't skip any part of the video, as every section builds on the last to give you a complete understanding. Understanding is inner strength, often referred to as resilience, is the capacity to endure hardships, recover from setbacks, and adapt positively to adversity. It's an essential quality that allows us to navigate the complexities of life with composure and grace. But what exactly is inner strength, and how can we cultivate it? To begin with, let's break down what inner strength really means. Inner strength is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that challenges don't affect us. Instead, it's about facing those challenges head-on, processing our emotions healthily, and emerging stronger on the other side. It's about having a core of calm and stability, even when everything around us seems chaotic. This kind of strength isn't just for extraordinary people. It's something we all have the potential to develop. One way to understand inner strength is to look at it through the lens of neuroscience. Our brains play a crucial role in how we handle stress and adversity. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex AMP, for example, is a part of the brain that becomes active when we're dealing with difficult tasks or emotional stress. This area is involved in processes related to motivation, emotional regulation, and pain perception. When the AMP is functioning well, we're better equipped to manage stress and maintain our focus and determination. Moreover, the neurotransmitter dopamine, often associated with pleasure and reward, also plays a significant role in resilience. When we set goals and achieve them, even small ones, our brain releases dopamine, which reinforces our motivation and perseverance. This biochemical feedback loop helps us to keep pushing forward, even when the going gets tough. So in essence, part of building inner strength involves understanding and leveraging the way our brain's reward system works. Now let's anchor these scientific insights with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength lies in recognizing and focusing on what we can control, and letting go of what we cannot. This is encapsulated beautifully in the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. By internalizing this principle, we can redirect our energy from worrying about external events to cultivating our inner responses and attitudes. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of viewing adversity as an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, wrote extensively about this in his Meditations. He believed that every challenge we face is a chance to practice and strengthen our virtues, such as patience, courage, and wisdom. When we encounter obstacles, instead of feeling defeated, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? This mindset transforms challenges into valuable lessons and stepping stones to greater inner resilience. Another key Stoic practice is negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, which involves contemplating potential difficulties and setbacks before they occur. This isn't about being pessimistic. Rather, it's about preparing ourselves mentally and emotionally for life's uncertainties. By imagining how we might handle worst-case scenarios, we reduce our fear and anxiety when they actually happen, because we've already rehearsed our responses in our minds. Furthermore, Stoics practice voluntary discomfort to build resilience. This could mean fasting, taking cold showers, or engaging in other forms of self-imposed hardship. The idea is that by intentionally exposing ourselves to discomfort, we train our minds and bodies to handle stress better. It's a way of building mental toughness and proving to ourselves that we can endure more than we might think. Understanding inner strength involves a combination of scientific insights and philosophical wisdom. By learning how our brain supports resilience and adopting Stoic practices, we can develop a robust inner core that helps us navigate life's challenges with grace and composure. This dual approach provides a comprehensive toolkit for anyone looking to build immense inner strength. Stoic principles. Delving into the rich world of Stoicism, we uncover principles that have stood the test of time, helping countless individuals cultivate not just resilience, but profound inner strength. These principles are not abstract concepts tucked away in ancient texts. They are practical, actionable, and incredibly relevant to our daily lives. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the art of differentiation, understanding what is within our control. This is perhaps one of the most empowering aspects of Stoicism. The Stoics teach us that our power lies not in altering external events, but in controlling our perceptions, our decisions, and our actions. Think about that for a moment. How liberating it is to realize that while the world may whirl around in chaos, the space within your mind, where your thoughts and choices reside, is entirely yours to control. This focus on internal rather than external control helps cultivate a mental fortitude that is impervious to the ups and downs of life. Stoicism also invites us to embrace adversity. According to Stoics like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, every difficulty in life is a chance to practice a virtue. If we face betrayal, we practice forgiveness. If we experience loss, we practice resilience. If we encounter failure, we practice perseverance. This reframing turns every challenge into a classroom where the lessons of life are learned. It's a transformative approach that doesn't just help us handle difficulties, but allows us to grow from them, building inner strength that's not just about enduring but thriving. Moreover, Stoicism isn't about denying emotion, but about managing it intelligently. Stoics value the role of reason in governing emotions, advocating for a state where one is not led by fleeting feelings, but guided by thoughtful deliberation. This doesn't mean Stoics are devoid of feeling. Rather, they strive for emotional equilibrium, where passions do not cloud judgment. This equilibrium enables us to face life's challenges with a clear mind, ensuring our responses are considered and constructive rather than reactive. Another profound practice in Stoicism is premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This practice involves visualizing potential negative outcomes in order to mentally prepare for them. By contemplating what could go wrong, we do two things. We diminish the shock and paralysis that might occur if those things were to happen unexpectedly, and we equip ourselves with strategies to handle them if they do. This mental rehearsal builds a resilience that is anticipatory, keeping us one step ahead of life's potential curveballs. Additionally, Stoics regularly engage in what they call voluntary discomfort, practices such as fasting, cold showers, and rigorous physical training. These activities are not just for physical health, but are undertaken to strengthen the mind. It starts with small daily acts, choosing not to complain about the traffic, taking a moment to reflect before responding in anger, or deciding to forego a luxury for a day. These practices help us build the inner strength that doesn't just survive challenges, but uses them as fuel for growth. By understanding and implementing these Stoic principles, we equip ourselves with tools not just for occasional resilience, but for a lifelong fortitude that is deeply rooted in wisdom and tranquility. As we continue to explore these ancient teachings, let us bring them into our lives, test them in our challenges, and transform them into enduring strengths. Practical strategies to build resilience. Building resilience isn't just a philosophical endeavor, it's a practical one. Through the integration of Stoic wisdom, there are actionable strategies that anyone can implement to strengthen their mental fortitude. Why would we want to imagine the worst? Yet this exercise has a powerful upside. By visualizing challenging situations and their potential outcomes, we prepare ourselves to handle them if they do arise. This preparation reduces the intensity of our emotional reactions to setbacks and difficulties when they actually occur. It's like a fire drill for the psyche. By running through scenarios in a controlled, thoughtful way, we can develop a calm and effective response to real-life stresses. This method not only helps us appreciate our current situation more, it also primes us to deal with future challenges with less anxiety and more confidence. Another effective strategy is the embracement of voluntary discomfort. Stoics advocate for regular engagement in activities that push our physical and mental boundaries. This could be as simple as taking cold showers, fasting, or participating in challenging physical activities. The rationale here is twofold. Physically, these actions can strengthen the body and increase our endurance. Mentally, they teach us that discomfort is temporary and often more manageable than we initially believe. These practices help to fortify our mental resilience by showing us that we can endure and thrive through discomfort, which diminishes the fear of future hardships. Incorporating daily mindfulness and reflection is another key tactic in building resilience. Stoicism teaches the importance of reflecting on our actions, thoughts, and the day's events each evening. This isn't just about introspection, it's about actively learning from our experiences and setting intentions for improvement. Mindfulness, the practice of being present and fully engaged with the here and now, also helps us cultivate a calm center. By maintaining awareness of our thoughts and feelings without judgment, we can manage stress and respond to life's challenges with greater composure and less reactivity. Developing routines and self-discipline is fundamental in Stoic practice and critical for resilience. Stoics value structure, not for its own sake, but because it helps us focus on what truly matters, reducing wasted energy on trivial decisions and distractions. By establishing routines, whether they involve morning meditations, regular exercise, or dedicated times for work and rest, we create a framework that supports mental health and productivity, strengthening our capacity to face and overcome adversities. Lastly, we must not forget the power of community and support. While Stoicism often emphasizes self-reliance, it also recognizes the strength that comes from being part of a supportive community. Sharing our struggles, learning from others, and offering support not only enrich our own lives, but also reinforce our resilience. By nurturing strong relationships and seeking out communities that share our values and goals, we can build a network that sustains us through challenging times. These strategies, deeply rooted in Stoic wisdom, offer us tangible ways to enhance our resilience. They empower us to transform challenges into opportunities for growth and equip us with the tools to navigate the complexities of life with grace and strength. As we integrate these practices into our daily lives, we gradually build up an inner fortress that stands firm in the face of life's storms. Integrating science and Stoicism, combining the empirical insights of modern neuroscience with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, provides a powerful, holistic approach to building inner strength. This integrated perspective not only deepens our understanding of resilience, but also offers practical strategies for cultivating it in our everyday lives. Let's explore how these two fields intersect and complement each other. Firstly, let's consider the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This scientific principle underpins the Stoic idea that we can shape our minds through deliberate practice and repeated thought patterns. Stoics like Epictetus famously stated that we are disturbed not by events, but by the views we take of them. Modern neuroscience supports this by showing how cognitive restructuring, changing our thought patterns, can alter the brain's response to stress. By consistently practicing Stoic exercises like negative visualization and mindfulness, we can rewire our brains to respond to adversity with calm and resilience rather than anxiety and fear. The Stoic practice of focusing on what is within our control also finds support in psychological research. Studies have shown that a sense of control is linked to reduced stress and improved mental health. By training ourselves to concentrate on our actions and reactions rather than external circumstances, we enhance our psychological resilience. This practice aligns perfectly with the Stoic principle of controlling our inner responses and letting go of what we cannot influence. By adopting this mindset, we reduce feelings of helplessness and increase our capacity to cope with challenges effectively. In addition, the Stoic approach to voluntary discomfort, engaging in activities that challenge our comfort zones, can be understood through the lens of stress inoculation training. SIT is a psychological technique used to prepare individuals to handle stress by exposing them to manageable levels of stress in a controlled environment. This is similar to the Stoic practice of deliberately facing discomfort to build mental toughness. By taking cold showers, fasting, or engaging in rigorous physical exercise, we not only build physical endurance, but also train our minds to remain composed and focused under stress. This preparation enables us to handle real-life adversities with greater resilience. Furthermore, the Stoic emphasis on reflection and mindfulness has parallels in modern therapeutic practices like cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) and mindfulness-based stress reduction (MBSR). These therapies emphasize the importance of self-awareness and cognitive restructuring, core elements of Stoic philosophy. By reflecting on our daily actions and practicing mindfulness, we cultivate a deeper awareness of our thoughts and behaviors, allowing us to respond to challenges more thoughtfully and effectively. This combination of ancient wisdom and contemporary psychology offers a robust framework for mental health and resilience. Additionally, the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, anticipating potential challenges, aligns with modern resilience training techniques that involve scenario planning and mental rehearsal. By imagining worst-case scenarios and preparing for them mentally, we reduce the shock and stress of unexpected events. This proactive approach, endorsed by both Stoicism and contemporary psychology, enhances our ability to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity. Case studies and real-life examples further illustrate the power of integrating Stoicism with modern science. Consider elite athletes who use visualization techniques to prepare for competitions, or military personnel who undergo rigorous training to build physical and mental resilience. These individuals exemplify how combining mental preparation, physical endurance, and a Stoic mindset can lead to extraordinary inner strength and performance under pressure. By weaving together the scientific understanding of the brain and Stoic philosophical practices, we create a comprehensive toolkit for resilience. This integrated approach not only helps us understand the mechanisms behind inner strength, but also provides practical strategies to cultivate it. Whether it's through neuroplasticity, stress inoculation, mindfulness, or cognitive restructuring, the synergy of science and Stoicism offers profound insights and tools for anyone seeking to build immense inner strength. Have you ever found yourself wanting something, dreaming about success, happiness, or achievement, but feeling like it's just out of reach? You push forward, work hard, but no matter what, it seems like life is pulling you in different directions, leaving you feeling unfulfilled or stuck. You're not alone. It happens to all of us at some point. But here's the truth. Success, fulfillment, and the ability to make things happen in your life aren't just about hard work or wishful thinking. There's a Stoic secret to achieving your goals that has been passed down for centuries. And it's not a flashy hack or a shortcut. It's a mindset, a way of living that empowers you to navigate challenges, stay grounded, and most importantly, take control of your life. In today's episode, we're going to explore the Stoic secrets to making things happen for you. Stoicism teaches us that real power comes from mastering ourselves, aligning with reality, and focusing on what we can control. By adopting these principles, you can stop waiting for things to change and start creating the life you want step by step. But before we dive into the 15 Stoic habits that can help you take control and make things happen, let's start by reflecting on how ancient wisdom can help us thrive in today's fast-paced world. How can we stay grounded, focused, and resilient, no matter what life throws our way? Join me as we explore these Stoic secrets and learn how to unlock the power within you to create meaningful change in your life, starting today. 1. Master inner peace. Ataraxia. Stay unshaken. Have you ever faced a situation that completely threw you off balance? Maybe it was a disagreement, an unexpected change, or a stressful deadline. In those moments, it's easy to get swept up in the chaos, to let your emotions take over, and to feel overwhelmed by external circumstances. But here's a Stoic secret. The calmer you are, the more power you have over your actions and reactions. The Stoic concept of ataraxia refers to a state of inner peace and tranquility, unaffected by external events. This concept teaches us that true strength comes from the ability to remain unshaken by the external world. When you master inner peace, you are no longer at the mercy of stress, anxiety, or the turbulence of daily life. You become more centered, more focused, and ultimately more resilient. Imagine for a moment that you're facing a stressful situation, perhaps a difficult conversation with a colleague, an impending deadline, or a personal challenge. The typical response would be to feel anxiety, frustration, or even panic. However, by practicing ataraxia, you can create space between the event and your reaction. Instead of being emotionally hijacked by the situation, you pause, breathe, and choose to respond with calmness and clarity. Ataraxia is not about ignoring your emotions or suppressing your feelings. Instead, it's about recognizing that your emotional responses are within your control, even if the external situation is not. When you remain calm in the face of adversity, you not only preserve your peace of mind, but you also gain the mental clarity needed to make better decisions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, frequently practiced ataraxia. In his meditations, he often reminded himself to stay calm and collected no matter what the day brought him. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In essence, our emotional state is determined not by what happens to us, but by how we choose to interpret and respond to it. The power of mastering inner peace is that it allows you to regain control over your emotions. Instead of reacting impulsively or letting the world dictate how you feel, you make a conscious choice to stay unshaken, no matter the circumstances. It's the foundation for making thoughtful decisions, maintaining resilience, and creating the mental clarity necessary to move forward with purpose. So how do you start mastering ataraxia? The key is mindfulness. Whenever you're faced with a situation that triggers strong emotions, take a step back, breathe deeply, observe your feelings, and then choose your response with intention. Don't react immediately. Use that pause to connect with your inner calm and act from a place of strength. Over time, this practice will help you navigate even the most chaotic situations with peace and composure. The Stoics believed that everything that happens, no matter how difficult, is an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reflected on this idea. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the essence of amor fati. Whatever obstacles or challenges life presents, they are not in our way, they are the way. They are the lessons, the catalysts for personal growth, and the opportunities that shape our character and our future. This mindset doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens to you, but rather actively engaging with the present moment, finding meaning in adversity, and choosing to grow from every experience. When you embrace your fate, you stop looking for a way out of your struggles and instead find strength within them. You learn that your path is defined not by external circumstances, but by your response to those circumstances. So how can you embrace amor fati in your own life? Start by shifting your perspective when things don't go as planned. Instead of resisting, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this challenge make me stronger? Every experience, whether it brings joy or pain, is an opportunity to align more deeply with your purpose, values, and goals. By loving your fate, you open yourself to greater resilience and strength, and you allow life to unfold as it should, rather than fighting against it. 3. Focus only on what you can control. How often do we waste time and energy fixating on things that are beyond our control? It's easy to get caught in the endless cycle of worry about other people's actions, the unpredictability of life, and external circumstances that seem out of reach. But here's the Stoic secret. True power lies in focusing only on what you can control. In life, we cannot control everything. We can't control the weather, other people's choices, or the outcomes of certain situations. However, we always have control over how we respond to these things. The Stoics believed that by focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and mindset, we gain true freedom and peace of mind. Think about the times you felt overwhelmed or frustrated by something that was out of your control. Perhaps it was a work project that didn't go as planned, a conversation that didn't go the way you expected, or an event that didn't unfold as you hoped. How much energy did you spend focusing on those things? Probably a lot, and it likely didn't help you in any way. The Stoic approach, however, invites us to shift our energy toward what we can influence. Our responses, our attitude, our efforts. By redirecting our focus away from external events and toward our internal reactions, we regain control. We stop giving away our emotional power to situations and people who do not deserve it. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, said it best. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This insight is the key to Stoic resilience. When you focus on how you respond to a situation, you stop letting external circumstances dictate your emotional state. You stop feeling powerless because you recognize that your responses are the only things you truly control. Let's break it down. You can't control what your boss thinks of your performance, but you can control your effort, your focus, and your attitude toward the work you do. You can't control the actions of others, but you can control how you react to their behavior. Instead of getting upset or frustrated when things don't go as planned, you can choose to remain calm and assess the situation rationally. Focusing on what you can control is liberating. It means releasing the mental and emotional burden of trying to control everything and instead giving your full attention to the things that you can influence. It helps you build emotional resilience because it gives you the strength to remain grounded regardless of external chaos. To apply this Stoic principle, start by identifying what's within your control each day. Make a mental note of the things that are in your hands, your choices, actions, mindset, and direct your energy toward those. Stop wasting time on things outside of your control and watch how much more empowered and at peace you feel. When you focus only on what you can control, you'll begin to make things happen, not because you're trying to control everything, but because you're investing your energy where it truly matters. 4. Live with purpose and excellence. AURELIUS. Be your best self. Have you ever had a day where you felt like you were simply going through the motions, doing things just to check them off a list, but never truly feeling fulfilled or proud of your efforts? It's easy to fall into this trap, especially when we get caught up in the demands of life. We often focus on getting things done, but forget the most important part, doing things with purpose and excellence. The fourth habit for making things happen is to live with purpose and excellence. The Stoics, particularly the philosopher Aristotle, emphasized the concept of AURELIUS, which means living up to your full potential by consistently striving to be your best self in everything you do. This isn't about perfection. AURELIUS is about focusing on the highest standards, doing everything with integrity, and pursuing excellence in every action, no matter how big or small. When you live with purpose, you don't just go through the motions. You choose how to show up, what you care about, and where you put your energy. Living with purpose means aligning your actions with your deepest values so that every effort, every decision, and every goal contributes to your overall vision of who you want to be and what you want to achieve. Think about it. How often do we give in to mediocrity? We're sometimes content with just good enough because it's easier than pushing ourselves toward excellence. But this attitude can leave us feeling unsatisfied and drained, as we know we're not living up to our true potential. On the other hand, when we choose excellence, we bring our best selves to everything we do. Whether you're working on a project, building relationships, or taking care of your health, AURELIUS means that you're giving your best effort, not for approval or external rewards, but because it aligns with your purpose and values. Excellence in the Stoic sense doesn't mean being flawless. It means being authentic, striving to improve, and doing your best in the circumstances you're in. By embracing AURELIUS, you also stop focusing solely on the outcome. The Stoics knew that true satisfaction comes not from achieving external success, but from being fully present and committed to the process. When you focus on doing your best regardless of the external result, you give yourself the freedom to pursue your goals with integrity and pride. The outcome will naturally follow when you focus on the quality of your actions. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The perfection of character is in the harmony between your mind and actions." This means that when you are aligned with your purpose, your thoughts and actions become an integrated force, creating both success and satisfaction. By pursuing excellence in all areas of your life, you begin to see not just the results, but also the growth that comes from striving for your highest potential. So how can you apply AURELIUS to your life today? Start by identifying the areas where you can raise your standards, whether it's in your work, personal relationships, or self-care routines. Commit to excellence in the small things. Don't just focus on the end result. Focus on the effort, the intention, and the quality of everything you do. When you live with purpose and excellence, you start to make things happen, not because you're striving for perfection, but because you're consistently showing up as the best version of yourself. And that's where true success is born. 5. Prepare for challenges. Premeditatio malorum. Expect the unexpected. How often have you gone through your day only to be blindsided by something you didn't expect? A sudden problem at work, an unexpected obstacle in your personal life, or an emotional setback that throws you off course. The truth is, life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we plan, challenges are inevitable. But here's the Stoic secret to making things happen. Prepare for challenges in advance, and you'll be ready to face whatever comes your way. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, teaches us to mentally prepare for obstacles before they arise. Instead of being caught off guard or overwhelmed by setbacks, we anticipate them and think through how we would respond. By doing this, we build emotional resilience and the mental clarity needed to handle difficulties calmly and strategically. It might sound counterintuitive at first. Why would you spend time thinking about challenges and setbacks? Wouldn't that make you anxious or focused on negative outcomes? But premeditatio malorum isn't about dwelling on worst-case scenarios. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This wisdom highlights the importance of simplifying our lives and avoiding the trap of chasing after more than we truly need. By practicing moderation, you create space for consistency, focus, and mental clarity. Instead of exhausting yourself with endless striving or giving into indulgence, you create a sustainable rhythm that allows you to pursue your goals without burning out. You take the time to rest, recharge, and maintain your energy so that you can perform at your best consistently day in and day out. The key to balance is recognizing that everything has its place. Work, rest, productivity, relaxation, and each of these needs to be honored without tipping into excess. When you overwork, you burn out. When you overindulge, you feel guilty or sluggish. But when you find balance, you're able to bring your best self to everything you do and still maintain your mental and emotional well-being. So how do you start practicing balance and moderation? Begin by recognizing areas of your life where you tend to overdo it. Whether it's work, food, social media, or something else, start setting boundaries for yourself. Give yourself time to rest. Ensure that you're prioritizing the things that truly matter, while also allowing space for relaxation and rejuvenation. By embracing balance, you'll find that you not only achieve more, but you do so with greater peace and energy. Remember, the middle path is often the strongest path. Embrace moderation and let it guide you toward a more sustainable, fulfilling way of living. 10. Memento Mori. Act like time is running out. How many times have you put something off, thinking, "I'll get to it tomorrow," or "there's plenty of time ahead"? We all tend to procrastinate, assuming that we have endless time to accomplish our goals, fix our mistakes, or pursue our passions. But here's the truth: time is precious, and we're never guaranteed more of it. The 10th habit for making things happen is to embrace the concept of memento mori. Remember that you will die. This isn't a morbid reflection, but a powerful reminder that our time on this earth is limited. The Stoics believed that by reflecting on our mortality, we are reminded of the urgency to live a life of purpose, to make every moment count, and to stop wasting time on things that don't truly matter. Memento Mori reminds us that time is our most valuable resource. Each day is an opportunity that should not be taken for granted. Yet how often do we delay taking action, thinking we have more time, only to realize later that the years have slipped by? The reality is that life can be unpredictable, and we often don't realize how quickly time passes until it's too late. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, famously reflected on his own mortality in his meditations. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." By acknowledging that life is short, we begin to approach each day with a sense of urgency and focus. We stop procrastinating and start living intentionally, making the most of every opportunity. Embracing memento mori isn't about dwelling on death in a negative way. It's about recognizing that time is limited, which gives us the motivation to act now. When we remember that life could end at any moment, we are inspired to pursue what truly matters. We take action, we push past our fears, and we stop waiting for the perfect moment to start making progress toward our goals. Every day is an opportunity to live with purpose, to take steps toward what we want to achieve, and to leave behind a legacy that matters. So how can you incorporate memento mori into your life today? Start by reflecting on your own mortality. Acknowledge that life is fleeting and use that knowledge to fuel your actions. Ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish today? What will I regret not doing? Let the awareness of time's passing motivate you to take immediate, purposeful action. When you live as if time is running out, you become more focused, more intentional, and more driven. You stop putting off the things that matter and start making things happen now. Memento Mori is a wake-up call, an invitation to live fully with urgency and purpose, knowing that every moment is a gift. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today because time is precious and you don't want to miss out on the opportunity to make your life count. 11. Gratitude as a power move. In a world where we are constantly striving for more success, more possessions, more validation, it's easy to overlook the incredible power of gratitude. We often focus on what we lack, what we don't have yet, or what we wish were different. But here's the Stoic secret. Gratitude is not only a way to acknowledge the good in our lives, it is a transformative force that attracts more of what we want. The 11th habit for making things happen is practicing gratitude as a power move. Gratitude is often seen as a passive emotion, but in Stoicism, it's a proactive tool for cultivating inner strength and attracting abundance. Gratitude, when we focus on the things we already have, we shift our mindset from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to peace. This shift doesn't just improve our emotional state, it enhances our ability to take action, to move forward, and to create the life we want. Think about it. When you focus on the things you lack or what hasn't worked out yet, it's easy to feel stuck, dissatisfied, or discouraged. But when you shift your focus to the things you are grateful for, whether it's your health, your relationships, your experiences, or even the simple joys of everyday life, you begin to notice that you have more than enough. Gratitude grounds you in the present and allows you to see your life through a lens of abundance rather than one of deficiency. The Stoics understood the power of gratitude deeply. Marcus Aurelius, for example, made daily gratitude a part of his routine. In his meditations, he reflected on the many things he was grateful for, despite the immense challenges he faced as emperor. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Gratitude for the Stoics wasn't just about acknowledging the good, it was about reminding themselves of the privileges they had, despite the challenges. It grounded them in the present moment and strengthened their resilience. Gratitude also works as a catalyst for action. When you recognize and appreciate the things you have, your skills, your relationships, your resources, it fuels you to take further action. Instead of focusing on the gaps or limitations in your life, you recognize the tools at your disposal and feel empowered to use them to create more success, more peace, and more joy. How can you make gratitude a power move in your life? Start by acknowledging 3 things you're grateful for each morning. These could be big, like your family or health, or small, like a moment of calm in the morning or a warm cup of coffee. Write them down or simply reflect on them before you begin your day. Notice how it shifts your energy and your mindset. You may find that your day unfolds with more clarity, positivity, and even opportunities you hadn't seen before. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice, it's a powerful tool for manifesting more of what you want in life. By acknowledging and appreciating the abundance you already have, you open yourself up to receiving even more. Gratitude strengthens your mindset, enriches your emotional resilience, and aligns your actions with your deeper desires. So today, practice gratitude as a power move. Recognize what you already have and use that recognition to fuel your actions and decisions. The more you focus on the positive, the more positivity you'll attract. And soon you'll find yourself making things happen, not because you wished for them, but because you took deliberate, grateful action. Own your role in life. How many times have you found yourself shirking responsibility, putting things off, or avoiding tasks because they felt too difficult or overwhelming? It's easy to want to avoid discomfort, to wait for the right moment, or to hope that someone else will step in and take charge. But here's the Stoic truth. Everything you do matters. Your actions, your decisions, and your responsibility are what shape the world around you. Own your role in life and success will follow. The 12th habit for making things happen is embracing your duty and responsibility. Stoicism teaches that life is not just about seeking pleasure or avoiding pain. It's about recognizing our duties and taking ownership of them. Whether it's our responsibilities in our career, family, relationships, or personal development, owning our role means acting with integrity and commitment, regardless of the obstacles that stand in our way. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, constantly reminded himself of his duty to his people and his role in the world. He wrote in his meditations, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that." By focusing on his duty, Marcus kept his mind fixed on what was in his control, his actions, his role, and his contributions to the greater good. Rather than being distracted by things outside of his control, he remained anchored in the responsibilities he had been entrusted with. When you embrace your duty and responsibility, you stop waiting for things to magically align or for external circumstances to change. Instead, you step up, take action, and fulfill your role with purpose and determination. This is the true path to empowerment. The more you take ownership of your responsibilities, the more control you gain over your own life. You stop being passive and become an active participant in your own success. This doesn't mean you have to take on the world or do everything yourself. It means that you acknowledge your part in the grand scheme of things and take pride in fulfilling it. Duty is about taking responsibility for your actions, regardless of how big or small they may seem. It's about owning your choices and decisions and following through on them, even when it feels hard. For example, if you're working on a project, don't wait for the perfect moment or for someone else to take charge. Own your responsibility to complete it with excellence, even if you face setbacks. If you're in a relationship, take responsibility for your role in building trust and understanding, even if it's uncomfortable at times. Every aspect of life is an opportunity to fulfill your duty, and by doing so, you move closer to achieving your goals and finding fulfillment. To implement this habit, start by identifying your duties in your life. What are the roles you need to embrace? What responsibilities have you been avoiding or putting off? Take one small step today to own that role and fulfill your duty. By doing so, you'll gain a sense of purpose, control, and strength. Because when you own your responsibilities, you take control of your destiny. Remember, success doesn't come from waiting for the perfect conditions. It comes from owning your role in life, fulfilling your duties, and taking deliberate action. 13. Universal connection. You're part of something bigger. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to become consumed with our own challenges, ambitions, and problems. We often focus on our individual goals and desires, sometimes forgetting that we're part of something much larger. But here's the Stoic insight. 13. Universal connection. Everything we do is interconnected. We're all part of a greater whole, and our actions ripple out into the world in ways we might not always see. The 13th habit for making things happen is recognizing your universal connection, the understanding that your actions are connected to something bigger than yourself. Whether it's the people you interact with, the work you do, or the way you impact your community, every action you take contributes to the larger web of life. This awareness helps us realize that we are not isolated beings, but interconnected with others and with the world around us. The Stoics understood that we are part of a universal order. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself of the importance of aligning his actions with the greater good. He wrote, "What is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee." This insight is about recognizing that when we act in harmony with the collective, we act in alignment with our true nature and purpose. By contributing to the well-being of others, we contribute to the well-being of ourselves. Think about it. When you help someone else, whether it's a colleague, a family member, or even a stranger, you're not just helping them in that moment. Your action creates a ripple effect, fostering goodwill and cooperation that can spread far beyond that individual. When you contribute to your community or take responsibility in your role at work, you're not only impacting those directly involved, but you're also contributing to the larger system that sustains everything around you. This doesn't mean that we should neglect our own personal growth or ambitions, but it does mean that we should always act with the awareness that we are part of something bigger. Every choice, every decision, every action we take can have an impact on others, and that impact can be positive or negative. By recognizing our interconnectedness, we begin to act with more integrity, responsibility, and consideration for the well-being of others. Universal connection also teaches us humility. When we realize that we are just one part of a much larger whole, we stop seeing ourselves as isolated or superior. Instead, we see our place in the world as part of a grander design, a design where our actions contribute to the collective good. This awareness helps us act with more compassion, empathy, and generosity, knowing that the energy we put into the world comes back to us in ways we might not fully understand. To incorporate this habit into your life, take a moment each day to reflect on how your actions contribute to the larger world around you. Ask yourself, how can I serve others today? How does my work contribute to the greater good? Whether it's helping a colleague, being present for a loved one, or making mindful choices that benefit the environment, always remember that your actions are part of the larger web of life. By embracing your universal connection, you stop thinking only about your individual success and start seeing your life as part of a larger mission. A mission that benefits not just yourself, but everyone around you. 14. Train your mind like an athlete. Your mindset determines what you achieve. We often spend hours training our bodies, improving our physical strength, endurance, and abilities. But what about the most important muscle of all, our mind? Just like an athlete dedicates time to physical training, the greatest achievers dedicate time to training their mindset. Your mindset shapes how you approach challenges, how you handle setbacks, and how you ultimately succeed. The 14th habit for making things happen is training your mind like an athlete. Stoicism teaches us that mental strength, like physical strength, is built through consistent practice, focus, and discipline. Your mind is your most powerful tool, and the more you invest in developing it, the greater your capacity to navigate life's challenges with confidence and resilience. Think about how athletes approach their training. They don't expect to perform at their best without putting in the work. Every day they train, pushing their limits and honing their skills. They know that achieving peak performance requires constant practice, focus, and dedication. The same goes for your mind. If you want to cultivate mental strength, resilience, and focus, you need to train your mind regularly. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself of the importance of mental discipline. He recognized that the quality of our thoughts directly impacts the quality of our lives. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Marcus Aurelius, in other words, the way you think, the way you interpret your circumstances, and the way you choose to respond to challenges directly affect your ability to succeed. By training your mind, you equip yourself to handle anything life throws at you with grace and wisdom. One way to start training your mind is through daily reflection and mindfulness. Just as an athlete works on their form, you can work on your mindset by focusing on your thoughts. Are they positive, focused, and aligned with your goals, or are they negative, reactive, and driven by emotion? When you become aware of your thought patterns, you can intentionally shift your mindset toward one that supports growth, resilience, and achievement. In addition to reflection, mental training can include practices like meditation, journaling, or mindfulness exercises. These practices help you develop focus, clarity, and emotional regulation, skills that will serve you in every area of your life. Just as physical training increases your endurance, mental training increases your ability to stay calm under pressure, to make better decisions, and to persist through difficult times. Another powerful way to train your mind is to constantly challenge it. Put yourself in situations that push your mental limits, whether it's solving a complex problem, learning a new skill, or facing a personal challenge. Thanks for watching. Just like lifting weights makes your muscles stronger, mental challenges make your mind more resilient. The more you challenge your mind, the more capable it becomes. Ultimately, your mindset is the foundation of your success. When you train your mind with the same dedication that an athlete trains their body, you unlock your true potential. A strong mind allows you to face adversity with confidence, learn from setbacks, and continue moving forward toward your goals, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. So start today by committing to train your mind like an athlete. Dedicate time every day to strengthening your mental resilience, clarity, and focus. Over time, you'll find that your mindset becomes a powerful force that helps you make things happen, achieve your goals, and thrive, no matter the challenges you face. 15. Use logic over emotion. Logos. Make smart moves. How often do we find ourselves making decisions based on emotions? Whether it's reacting out of anger, fear, frustration, or excitement. While emotions are natural and important, they don't always lead us to the best decisions. Emotional reactions can cloud our judgment, making us act impulsively and sometimes regret our choices later. The Stoics, however, believe that to truly take control of our lives and make things happen, we must prioritize logic. The 15th habit for making things happen is to use logic over emotion to guide your decisions and actions with reason, clarity, and wisdom, rather than being swept away by emotional impulses. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or ignoring them. It means acknowledging them, but choosing not to let them dictate your behavior. Stoicism teaches us that logos, the power of reason, is what leads us to the most thoughtful and effective actions. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, often spoke about the importance of separating ourselves from our emotional reactions and applying reason in our decision-making. He said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This statement highlights the idea that our actions must be guided by our rational values and goals, not by fleeting emotions. Imagine a situation where you're faced with criticism, a setback, or an unexpected challenge. The natural emotional reaction might be to feel defensive, upset, or discouraged. But if you choose to respond with logos, with calm reasoning, then you can step back and assess the situation objectively. You'll be able to ask yourself, what is the best course of action here? What can I learn from this? How can I make the most of this challenge? The key to logos is not just about thinking logically in high-pressure situations. It's about training your mind to approach life with rationality and objectivity as a default mode. By practicing this, you avoid reacting to every emotional impulse that arises and instead make decisions that align with your long-term goals and values. This habit becomes especially important when you face obstacles. Instead of reacting with frustration or anger, apply logos to find practical solutions. Ask yourself, what's within my control? What is the most reasonable course of action? By doing this, you prevent emotions from taking over and become more capable of making smart, strategic decisions. Stoic philosophy also encourages us to see life's challenges with a rational perspective, recognizing that setbacks and difficulties are not personal attacks, but opportunities for growth and learning. When we approach adversity with reason, rather than allowing our emotions to overwhelm us, we develop resilience and clarity. So how can you apply this principle today? Start by recognizing when your emotions are taking over and consciously deciding to pause and think. Challenge yourself to approach decisions with a calm, clear mind, using logic to guide your actions. Whether it's responding to criticism, managing a difficult situation, or simply making daily decisions, choosing logos will help you make more informed, thoughtful moves. By training yourself to prioritize logic over emotion, you'll find that you make smarter decisions, experience less stress, and feel more in control of your outcomes. The more you embrace logos, the more you'll realize how powerful your rational mind is in shaping the life you want to create. As we conclude today's episode, remember that making things happen in your life is not about waiting for the perfect circumstances or relying on luck. It's about mastering the inner principles that give you control over your reactions, decisions, and actions. The Stoics taught us that true power lies in how we approach life, how we embrace our fate, how we focus on what we can control, and how we continuously strive for personal growth. By incorporating these 15 habits into your life, you build a foundation of emotional resilience, wisdom, and purposeful action. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our long-term goals and values rather than short-term comforts. By applying Stoic discipline, you can remind yourself of the reasons behind your choices, reinforcing your willpower to act in accordance with your greater good rather than momentary desires. Moreover, Stoicism can profoundly impact our overall resilience and mental health. In times of crisis or sorrow, such as during a financial setback or the loss of a loved one, the Stoic practice of focusing on what we can control, our responses, our values, our actions, becomes invaluable. While it's natural to feel grief or stress, Stoicism helps us navigate these emotions without letting them overwhelm us.